In this tutorial we were gonna have a look how we can create this boss fight. So once the boss loses his speed, max health, basically health half health, and now the boss is chasing our player game object twice speed. So I hope you get the idea. So we're gonna make this. So I'm gonna kill this boss. And before I jump into the coding part, I want to thanks Vavis YVNS for supporting me on Patreon. And if you want to do that, you can do on Patreon as well as you can do it on YouTube membership. So without further delay, let's dive into this tutorial. Let's select the boss, and if I move over to animator tab, we can see I have multiple animation clip. We have boss attack, boss work, boss anger work, and boss anger attack, and boss anger. I'm gonna remove this boss idle. I don't need it. Instead, I'm gonna set this boss work to be a default state. So let's right click on boss work and set as layer default state. So this one just gonna be a default state, and we will use state machine. Something like, let's suppose we are in boss work animation clip. We're gonna attach a script to this boss work animation clip. Means whatever we're doing in boss work animation clip, mainly we're gonna chase our player game object. So we're gonna define it in boss work animation clip. Basically we're gonna select this boss work animation clip and go over to inspector, and in the bottom you can see add behavior. So we just have to click on add behavior and new script. You have to name the script. So we're gonna attach a script, something like underscore boss underscore walk state, we can call state, and then new script, and then create and add. And we can define in this script what play this boss game object actually need to do, or we can define out there. So let's double click on that. So when we playing our work animation clip, what we want to do, we're gonna purchase our player game object. So we're gonna define it over here. So if we move over to Unity one more time, of course I will give a link in the description that how you can make these animation clips. Of course we'll have a video in the description, and also this boss sprite, I'm gonna give in the description. You can just go and check that out. Just wait for to compile, and it's gonna take a few moments. So we need to make transition from this boss work to boss attack. Before we do, we're gonna select this boss work, and let's open up this you can say state machine, sorry, the state or the script. We can remove this bottom two function, we don't need it, and we're gonna use this function and this function. Let's comment it out. So basically let's remove this slashes. We can remove this. So let's go. Let's remove this forward slashes and this one. You can think of this is our start function. So when we enter the state, basically when from this entry to once we go over to this boss work animation clip, this function right over here gets trigger or get call, and this over here on state update, this function gets called over again and again and again and again. It's like our update function. And this over here in the bottom says on state exit, means this function just gonna call last frame. Let's suppose we from this boss work we just gonna go over to boss attack. So the last frame of playing the boss work animation clip, it's gonna go over to this boss attack. Before it's move over to this boss attack, it's gonna call this function. So this function get called when we exit our state or the animation clip, and it's just gonna call one time. So before we do, let's make transition from this boss work to boss attack. So let's right click on it and make transition to boss attack. and let's click on this arrow, go over to inspector, and we're gonna untick this has exit time. Basically we will set a parameter from to go from this boss work to boss attack. Let's scroll down. I'm gonna set transition duration to 0. Basically I just want to go immediately, that's why. And in the bottom says a condition and it says list is empty, so we're gonna set a some certain condition to go this boss work, boss attack. So let's set a trigger parameter. To do so, in animator tab in parameter you can see plus icon, so just click on that and select this trigger, and we can call this trigger something like attack. And what we have to do, we need to choose this condition. We're gonna choose this attack parameter, and we also need to go over to this boss work. Once we create 100% animation clip of this boss attack, we need to move over to boss work one more time. So let's right click on boss attack and let's make transition to boss work, and let's select this arrow, go over to inspector, and we're going to choose exit time to 1. 1 basically means over here 100%, so we will play 100% animation clip of boss attack, and then we're going to move over to this boss work automatically. And we're not gonna choose any condition, so that's why it's gonna move over to this boss work automatically. And transition duration I'm gonna set to 0. So if we hit this play button in the top and try to trigger this attack parameter manually, then you're gonna able to see that, well, from this boss work we will go over to boss attack immediately, and after playing 100% animation clip of boss attack, we're gonna move over to this boss work one more time. So let's trigger that parameter. So if I just trigger this attack parameter in animator tab, we can see after playing 100% animation clip of boss attack, it's just moving over to this boss work one more time, and we just triggering manually. So we're gonna trigger this attack parameter through our code. So let's get out of play mode. So before we do that, we need to chase our player game object in working state. So if we playing the work animation clip, so we want to chase our player game object wherever player game object is going. So that's why. So let's open up the boss work attack boss work state, and we will go to top of our class, and over here firstly we will grab the reference of our player position. So we can call this transform, means you can transform is responsible for position, rotation and scale, and we can call this one player position or player. And let's go to this start function, start or this on state enter. So we're gonna go over to this function, and this function what we want to do, we want to grab the reference in the start of the game of our player position. So we're gonna set player equal to game object. We will use this function game object dot find object with tag, and in brackets in quotation it's gonna name the tag, uh, it's gonna take the tag name. So in our case player. So make sure you just go to Unity, select the player game object in your hierarchy. So I'm gonna select this player, select that, go over to inspector, and make sure you just tag with player as a player tag. I already have assigned this player game object as a player tag, so that's why. So go over to script now. So this function just gonna find our player game object with the tag of player, and we assign it our player as a player tag. So it's gonna take that, and we so after finding that player game object, we're gonna go over to transform of that player and close that up with semicolon. Basically we just going over to this player game object in hierarchy and then taking this transform position, basically player position you can say, and then we just storing this player position into this player variable, or this into this transform player variable. You can say we have the player position by now, basically this one. And what we have to do, let's I'm gonna remove this slashes from right over here, and if I just move to Unity and select this boss game object, in boss game object I already have attached a boss script, you can see. So what we want to do, or we also need this boss script. Before we do that, we need our boss current position, basically this transform. So what we can do, we're gonna go over to that one more time, and let's create another transform field, and we can call this one something like boss position, or boss, let's call boss position, and close that up with semicolon. And let's go to on state enter function, basically start function, and let's graph the reference of it. So boss position, we're gonna set equal to we can see and this animator parameter in this brackets. So this by animator component, we can grab the reference of the position we can see. So we need to go over to this animator. So we will go to animator, basically animator over here dot referencing our this player animator. If I select this boss game object, in boss game object we can see an animator component already attached, because we created those animation clip. So that's why we just going over to this animator, and by this animator component we're gonna get the reference of this transform component, means position. So animator, we're gonna go to transform and close that up with semicolon. Now we have boss position as well as our player position. So let's go to this update function, to chase our player. We're gonna use this vector 2. Before we do, let's set the current position. So boss position we will set equal to boss position right over here, basically means current position of our boss, and we will set equal to vector 2 dot vector 2 dot move towards function. And this function just gonna take current position and the target position where you want to go, and third argument it will take the speed. So we're gonna pass our boss position, means the current position, and the target position gonna be our player game object. Basically we want to target our player game object, so that's why. So we will say player dot position, and the third thing, it will take a speed parameter. So let's go to top of our class and let's make a public float speed. So make sure you just making it public so we can adjust through our animation clip, because we're gonna use this script one more time to bump up the speed as well as those things. So we're gonna do something like public float. We will call this one speed, or chase speed, or move speed you can call. Let's call it something like chase speed, chase speed. And by default I'm gonna set something like 2f, and let's pass right over here chase speed, and make sure you just multiply with time dot delta time, because we it's like work as a update function. So that's why we're gonna multiply with time dot delta time to make frame rate constant, and close that up with semicolon. And we're getting a error over here. Basically this is a transform component, so we just pass the transform. Basically we need the position instead of the transform, so we will go to transform, then dot, we're gonna access the position, and the error is gone by now. But we still get a problem, is that we get a problem, vector 2 to unity engine dot transform. So basically we have to put a position right over here as well. So we just pass the transform instead of the position, so we need to go to transform. So this is our transform, then accessing the position dot position. Basically we're just going over to this boss, and then transform, then a dot position, basically means current position of our boss. That is the thing. So make sure you just include this dot position, or else you're gonna get some error. So control S to save your code, and if we now move over to unity, we should able to see this boss game object just gonna chase our player game object with that much of speed as we define it. So we can select the walk boss walk animation clip, and we can adjust the speed as well. Just have a look on it. Let's select this boss work state or animation clip, select that, and we can see chase speed. I'm gonna bump up a little bit, something like 2.5, and let's click on this play button in the top, and let's see what's really happening. Basically our boss just gonna chase our player game object with this much of chase speed. We can see that, and indeed it's just, and we just created these fireballs. Of course I will give a link as well in the description of this. And our boss get died. So it's our this boss just chasing and chasing, and it's getting at the point of our player. So what we have to do, we need to stop it somewhere around here. We need to check the distance between them. If it's something like a little bit close, then this enemy should stop chasing our player. Instead what you what actually need to do in that moment, the basically what this boss actually need to do in that moment. In that moment basically this boss enemy just have to play the attack animation clip. So once the distance between our player and the boss is close enough, then this boss should stop chasing us, and it just need to play the attack animation clip. To do so, let's go to script. So we're gonna check the distance between. So let's go to this on state update function. We're gonna check it over here. So we will check if vector2 dot distance function we're gonna use, and this function right over here gonna take two position and it's gonna compare between them. Firstly we're gonna pass our own position, which is boss position dot position. Make sure you just do that, as well as player dot position we're gonna check for. So if the distance between our enemy position, sorry, boss position and the player position, if it's lesser than or equal to some unit, something like attack distance, so let's go to top of our class and let's make a variable as well for that. So let's make a public float, and we can call this one attack distance, and by default I'm gonna set it to something like 2.5f as well, but you can check for 3. It's totally up to you. So I'm gonna check if attack distance. So by default I just check for 2.5f, as you can see. So make some curly brackets. So what we want to do, so the position of our player and the boss is too much close, or this lesser than or equal to this attack distance. Now that boss game object, sorry, this boss, now what we have to do, we need to play the boss attack animation clip. So basically we need to trigger this attack parameter. So let's and we have animator component, animator parameter we can see. So we can just directly go to that animator dot set trigger, and it's sorry set trigger, and the trigger in quotation it's gonna take, which is our attack, and close that up with some my colon. So we do know once we trigger this attack parameter, it's gonna play the attack animation clip, and after playing 100% it's gonna go back to this work animation clip again, and it's gonna check one more time. And make sure we doing it update function. So this attack parameter just gonna trigger multiple times. So what we will do when we exit our animation clip, basically once we go over, before we go over to that attack animation clip, we just want to reset this you can say this attack you can say attack parameter. So we will go to animator dot reset trigger, and the reset we want is attack. Why we doing? Because we doing inside this update function, and we do know update function runs every single time. You can say update function, you can assume this is our update function. It's run every single time, so that's why this parameter just gonna trigger every single time. So make sure you just reset the trigger once it's complete. So once we exit our animation clip, we just resetting, and control S to save your code. And now let's move over to Unity. And we should able to see that it's gonna take just wait for a little bit, and it's gonna do the thing. And if I select this boss walk, and as a attack distance we have set 2.5, so I'm gonna set something like 3 over here. So let's hit this play button in the top. I'm gonna select this boss game object, and then this boss script. Let's click on this play button in the top. So once this boss loses half health, what I want to do, I want to make transition this boss attack to boss anger, and then from this anger we're gonna use boss anger work and boss anger attack. So 1 2 3, we can see it loses half health. So after losing, and indeed it's playing or stopping at a 1 point, and then it's just chasing our player game object. So let's get out of play mode. So once this boss loses half health, I want to transition from this boss attack to boss anger. So let's make transition between them. Let's right click, then make transition, and we're gonna make transition to boss anger. So let's select this transition, go over to inspector, and I'm gonna untick has exit time, and let's transition duration to set 0 because we're gonna go immediately, and we need to choose a condition in which condition we want to go. So let's set a some certain condition. So let's go to parameter, hit this plus icon, and I'm gonna choose this bool. We're gonna check bool, and we will call anger, and let's choose that condition. So I'm going to choose this anger. So if anger is true, then it's going to move over to this anger animation clip, and from this anger now I'm going to use this boss anger work. So let's right click on this boss anger, let's make transition to boss anger, and let's select this transition. We're going to go over to inspector, and as a exit time I'm going to put a 1. Basically I'm going to play the 100% animation clip of boss anger, a boss anger. Then I'm going to move over to this boss anger work, and after moving this boss anger work, we need to firstly let's set transition duration to 0. uh, uh, what we will do, we're gonna make transition from this boss anger work to boss anger attack. So let's make transition to boss anger attack, and let's select this arrow by now, and we're gonna untick this as exit time and transition duration to 0, and we're gonna choose the same parameter which is attack. So we're gonna hit this plus icon, we're gonna choose attack, and we also need to move over to this boss anger attack to boss anger work. So let's right click, make transition to back, and let's select this arrow, go over to inspector. We're gonna choose I'm gonna untick this transition duration, and I'm gonna note not gonna choose any condition to go back, so it's gonna go automatically after playing boss anger attack animation clip. I hope you get the idea. And what we want to do once we are in boss anger walk, let's select, we can add a behavior, basically a script what we want to do in boss anger work, something like when we boss anger work, so it's need to chase at twice speed more than as usual. It's need to. So what we can do, we can reuse that state machine as class. Basically we can reuse this behavior which is boss works as a work state. So we're gonna select this boss anger work, let's click on add behavior. We're gonna add the behavior boss work state, and instead over here what we can do, we can bump up the chase speed because it's now in anger state. So we can just increase the speed, chase speed, something like we can make 5, and anger attack distance I'm going to choose 3, and now fine. So we need to make transition from this boss attack to boss anger, but when we shoot, when the boss game object just loses half health. So we're gonna open up our boss script. So let's double click. You can just copy the mine code right over here. So I'm losing the health something over here. We can see we just losing half health over here, so I'm gonna do it over here. So we need to make transition from this boss attack to boss anger. So if I select this arrow, we need to trigger this boss anger parameter which is true. So we need a reference. If we select this boss game object, we need a reference of this animator component, then we can switch up the animation. So let's go to script. So we're gonna go to animator. So we have a reference already, we can see. So just make something like public animator, then go to unity and select this boss script and drag this animator right there, so you can have the boss animator. Now we can switch up the animation. To switch up, we're gonna go to animator, and we will use this set bool function because why we that if we move to unity, because this anger is a bool parameter, so we need to set this to true. And if we set this to true, it's gonna move over to this boss anger. So let's go to script. So in quotation, it's gonna take the parameter name, so which in our case anger, and we have to set the value. So we're gonna set it to true and close that up with semicolon and control S to save your code. And now let's move over to Unity. So player is losing half health over here, so once it loses, then I'm just triggering this bool parameter anger. And we know that once we trigger this anger bool parameter, not triggering, basically setting true, it's gonna move over to that you can say that this boss anger. So let's have a look. So if I just click on this play button, and it's gonna take a look, sorry, we're gonna take a look of this. Just wait for to compile. And so if I just fireball, so we have, so, and we can indeed see it's an anger state, and now it's just chasing our player game object a little bit faster. I don't know why it's not chasing. So we are stack at boss anger attack animation clip. Okay, we got the problem. Basically, we have to set this exit time to 1. We just forgot it to do it right over here. And now if we just click on this play button, so make sure you just choose the back transition, and then exit time to choose 1. So it's gonna play the 100% animation clip of attack, and then it's gonna move over to this boss anger work animation clip. And I hope you get the idea. And now let's have damage. And now it's just attacking our player game object, basically chasing. And I hope you get the idea of this. And we just destroyed our boss. So we just forgot to do it right over here. Has exit time to, we need to choose a 1. So it's gonna play the 100% animation clip of this boss anger attack, and then it's gonna move over to boss anger walk animation clip. And you also can do these things over here. Basically you can just take this player transform position to this first, or in the start of the game, or you can just take it this update as well. So if we move to Unity and open up the player boss enemies boss script by double clicking on it, we so once it loses half health, we can see it's our this boss game object not gonna take damage. And the anger state is over, or is anger state is true, basically it's true, then it's gonna take one damage. So once we are playing the anger animation clip with this boss anger, it's gonna not gonna take any damage. And once it's over, then it's gonna take again our boss enemy game object just gonna try to take damage one more time. I hope you get the idea. You can just copy this mine one right over here, or you can just get the logic of this. I hope you get the idea of this. And lastly, thanks for watching this video. I will see you in the next tutorial.